Let me tell you that today we're going to talk about energy supply chains, expanding opportunities for Hispanic-owned businesses and for small businesses, because involves everybody. Let me tell you that energy, as you know, was talked about earlier, that it's a new field for a lot of folks. And if you look at it, everybody's been in everything, and mostly in a lot of different things, from retail to manufacturing. But when it comes to energy, whether it's oil and gas, upstream, downstream, in any area, we're not there. We lack Hispanic businesses being in there. But we have a great opportunity that the women in business, Latinas, are the fastest growing in any of our sectors, and someone will speak to that. But what I want to speak to is that anybody in any sector that's already doing business has a great opportunity to move over into the energy business. You just have to adapt. As we've always adapted in business, we've moved forward and we've had change. And no one in business in America, whether you're a Hispanic or non-Hispanic, if you've been in business, you're a small business and growing, well, small business in America has always been in a recession because we're always borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. When big business is in a recession, we're in a depression. Yet we survive. And everybody keeps talking about that America is built on the backs of small business in America. Yet when it's our turn to, where's our fair share at the table, in new business, we're the last one invited in. We got to change that. And we're going to change that because we are going to partner with other small businesses outside of our community so that together we can grow. And thank you very much for being here today. Across the energy sector today, supply chain constraints remain one of the most pressing challenges. Limited availability of critical equipment such as transformers, cables, and other key components is not only driving up the cost, but also contributing to the delays in projected timelines. Addressing these bottlenecks will be essential to ensuring the timely, cost-effective deployment of energy infrastructure. And do not be afraid of getting into energy infrastructure. I come from an infrastructure background, putting in dark fiber and other infrastructure programs. We need to move into those areas. That's upstream. And most of the time, they don't see us, yet everything can't move without us. So now, the first question here, Diana, from a business development perspective, what strategies can Hispanic-owned businesses use to build relationships, capacity, credibility, and they need to enter the complex supply chains like those in the energy sector, even if they are new to the industry?
Well, just a couple things. So I was on the client side because I worked for the Department of Transportation and High-Speed Rail. And first, I just want to mention, I know that with this current administration, not the emphasis of the DBEs and them removing that, but I want everyone to know, at least in California, the state agencies are still continuing to honor those commitments. So that is a good thing. We're just trying to work on how those small businesses and disadvantaged get certified. Same thing for companies like ours. We're still honoring those commitments. We most definitely still feel having those small businesses, those disadvantaged businesses on our teams makes sense. So that is a good thing, and it's encouraging, at least for me, that we're still being able to do that, make that commitment. There are things that I've seen now going from the public side to the private side. The big thing is those relationships. Really establishing relationships with big companies, because once you get on a team with a big company and they like you and they trust you, they will always put you on their teams. And that, to me, I've seen that in the last 2 years on how we go and we pick these small businesses, disadvantaged businesses. And so that's one thing is going and networking and creating that relationship, being present in that room, and being able to quickly. I had a young girl come up to me, started her own company, and she wanted to be on our team. And so I said, well, send me your information. To this day, she hasn't sent it. So she's not on our team. And so, again, you don't just get on the team by making one introduction. You got to do the follow-up work. That's critical. The other thing is you really need to know the priorities of the clients. So talking about energy, I worked for California High-Speed Rail, building the first high-speed train in the country. Yes, it's going slow, but it's still being built.
It'll go fast.
Yes, once it's built, it will go fast. But the thing was, so they put out this event looking for companies to help them find and build the energy supply that they're going to need to run this train. And so High Speed Rail is very committed to small businesses. So they had an event and they invited, all kinds of companies to come in, hear them out, so then they can partner. And this CEO of High Speed Rail, he likes to meet with small businesses, likes to be engaged. And so again, knowing what is the priorities within your respective state, and going out there, going to these events, that is critical. The other thing is there is a lot of training. When I was at Caltrans, we had what we called the Cal Mentor training. So it was teaching small businesses on what it was to be a small business. So they would get paired up with a big company and they would mentor them through the entire process. How you put, when you work, if you work, your client is a state agency or a government, there's a lot of audits, a lot of paperwork. It's almost a lot of work just to get a contract, but that's, really important. The last thing I want to talk about is partnerships. And so High Speed Rail is putting out these contracts that are called IDIQs. So they're going to have a bench of small business, medium, and then major. So we have this one small business that decided, okay, I'm going to put a team of just small businesses, which then makes them more competitive and makes themselves easy to market. So really looking for those partnerships, whether it's another small business. You don't have to do everything. You don't need to know how to do everything. But if you find the right smart partner, you can do a lot together. And I think that's also really important.
Thank you. Remember, one thing she said that's really important as you're moving in business. People do business with people they know. So remember that. If you know someone, go to them first because they'll help you get in there. Because people do business with people they know. So look in there where you're going, where you're knocking on doors. If you know anybody there, or if somebody else that knows somebody there, and you use that. Okay?